The World's Worst Teachers by David Walliams. Miss Spick's Trike of Terror. In a world of horrible teachers, one in particular stands out for her wickedness. Step forward, or rather roll forward. Miss Spick, the lady may have been elderly, but she had lost none of her power to instill fear into the heads of all the pupils at Spottington School. Miss Spick's eyes were as black as coal. Her skin was as white as snow. Her tongue was long and thin, like a snake's. When she spoke, her essays would be sinister. The librarian always rode a three-wheeler mobility scooter along the aisles of the books as fast as it would go. Kids had to leap out of the way to avoid being run over. Despite the wounded children strewn across the floor, the librarian kept her library impossibly neat and tidy. All the books spines sat on the shelves in perfectly straight lines in strict alphabetical order. There was never a speck of dust or a spot of dirt to be seen anywhere in the Spottington School library. Miss Spick enforced a strict policy of no browsing. Science reminded you of this at every step. In fact, there might have been more signs than there were books. Books were to be taken out or left well alone. When they were returned, the librarian would pull a magnifying glass out of a drawer and thoroughly inspect them for any damage. Without fail, Spick always found some. When she did, you had to pay. There's a fold line on the top of page 137. Fine. There's discoloration on the back cover caused by exposure to sunlight. Fine. There's a greasy smudge from a thumb or a particular stubby finger on the inside front flap. Fine. Spick determined the fines herself, but very wildly. The librarian would stare down at her shoes and determine from the state of them what she thought you could afford. Scuffed 10 pence, highly polished. 10 pounds. The money would then be snatched off you and stuffed in Spick's special tin. The tin was huge, more like a treasure chest, and was full to bursting with cash. Every child at Spottington School had fallen full of Spick's greed, except two, the Tang twins. Tom and Tim Tang were child geniuses. The twins always received 100% in all their tests. The bullies called them nerds. No matter, these nerds are sure to invent some sort of supercomputer, become billionaires, and take over the world. The Tangs had been dabbling with all kinds of inventions already, even though none had quite caught on yet. They'd created internet for cats, flying sheds, invisible hair dryers, self-boiling eggs, exploding cricket balls, night vision goggles for bats, electric flip-flops that worked themselves, nuclear-powered umbrellas, hair-free dogs, inflatable socks. The Tang twins worked 10 times harder than everyone else at school. They were so studious that never been told off in their lives. So it will come as no surprise to learn that whenever they returned a book to the school library, it was absolutely spotless. Needless to say, this turned Spick incontinent with rage, as it made it impossible for her to find them. Nevertheless, should amass a fortune from all the other kids. But what did an elderly school librarian need all this money for? To soup up a mobility scooter, of course. Keep up. The kids gave the beast of a machine a nickname, the Trike of Terror. It was terrifying with all its modifications. Blindingly bright headlights, caged front big enough in which to fit a small child, snakeskin seat, parachuted back for instant stopping in an emergency, revolving number plate, in case going 100 miles an hour she whisked past speed camera, bull bar, racing tires, black spray, booster battery, go faster stripes. To pay for all these modifications, Miss Spick began imposing on-the-spot fines in the library for all kinds of spurious reasons. Returning a book 1 second late, 10 pence. Whispering too loudly, 20 pence. Sneezing on a book, 75 pence. Looking as if you are about to sneeze on a book, 65 pence. Dropping a book, 20 pounds. Having an untucked t-shirt, 55 pence. Leaning on a bookcase, 25 pence. Yawning, 5 pence. Pulling a book off the shelf by hooking your finger over the top, wrong, rather than by pinching the spine with 2 fingers, correct, £8 50 pence. Sharpening your pencil and thereby disturbing the peace, 95 pence. Sucking on a mint, 35 pence. Bringing a can of fizzy drink into the library, strictly forbidden, £1 25 pence. Having an egg shaped like an egg, 15 pence. Using a too scratchy pen, 30 pence. Dropping a crumb on the carpet, 1 pence. Smelling without pre-written consent, 40 pence. Smelling of cheese, 80 pence. Tapping the desk, 85 pence. Breathing more than your fair share of air, 90 pence. Picking your nose, 50 pence. Picking your nose and eating it, £1. Picking, licking, rolling and flicking, £2 50 pence. Breaking wind, £100. Soon it was impossible to even set foot in the library without Spick extorting money from me. So the kids simply stopped going, which was a real shame, as they loved reading books. After she'd sat alone in a big empty library for a whole term without one single visitor, Spick thumped to the desk in frustration. Bum! Of course she had to fine herself for doing that. She took 85 pence out of her special fines tin, before immediately putting it back in. Clink. Then Miss Spick had a thought. Ding! If the children would not come to her, she'd have to go to them. She leaped astride a Trike of Terror and rolled it through the double doors of the library and out into the school. As Miss Spick trundled into the playground, a gust of wind picked up a crisp packet, crinkle, and it flew into her face. Wonderful, she exclaimed. That was because it had given Miss Spick an idea. Ding! On-the-spot fines for littering. You child, that chocolate bar you so carelessly tossed over your shoulder will cost you dearly, she hissed moments later. But Miss Spick, that is my chocolate wrapper, the girl protested. Oh, yes, it is. No, it isn't, I promise. I'm allergic to chocolate and have never, ever eaten it. In the time you've been talking, the fine has gone up from 60 pence to 70 pence. The kids had no choice but to cough up the cash. If they didn't, Spick would pursue them around the playground, sitting astride the Trike of Terror. Broom, help, no, ah! The souped-up mobility scooter had just been fitted with stereo speakers. Now Miss Spick could listen to Beethoven's bombastic Fifth Symphony her favourite piece of music on a loop as she terrorized them. Dee-dee-dee-dum. All the kids at Spottington School were running out of pocket money, and fast. Every last money was going straight to Miss Spick, and they had nothing left to spend on the things that truly mattered in life, like football cards, hair scrunchies, ice cream, bubblegum, rude comics, whoopee cushions, stickers, smelly rubbers, gonks. Someone at the school had to do something to stop Miss Spick. The only kids at Spottington School were not terrified of her were the Tank Twins. It was time for the revenge of the nerds. One very time the pair sitting together on a bench in the playground, sitting on with quiet reading. It was a weighty book they'd chosen themselves to read for fun. It was entitled An Expert's Guide to Rocket Science. Their four eyes scanned the pages, digesting every last indigestible fact. All the good in the world until they heard the distinctive chords of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Dee-dee-dee-dum. It could mean only one thing. Oh no, remarked Tim Tang. Oh yes, replied Tom Tang. They looked up from the book. The music was heralding the arrival of Miss Spick astride the Trike of Terror. Rocket science will have to wait, said Tim. It certainly looks like it, agreed Tom. The librarian came to a halt right next to them, the bullbar at the front crashing into their knees. Crunch! Ouch, said Tim. Ditto, agreed Tom. I hope you haven't dented my scooter, hissed Miss Spick. Us too. How can we help you, Miss Spick? Inquired Tim politely. Well, began the librarian. What have we here? The lady has a long metal spike in one hand. At the end of it was dum-dum-dum. A burger wrapper? Tom peered closer. It looked very much like a wrapper, Miss Spick. I know that, she snapped. Then we're glad to be of service, Miss Spick, added Tom, and the pair returned to their book. Good day. Miss Spick's face soared. The question is, what was it doing here right next to Footsie's? The Tank Twins shed a puzzled look. I imagine it blew over, guessed Tim. Tom nodded. The wind, which is coming from a northwesterly direction, is unusually strong today. It is certainly nothing to do with us, as we have never eaten a burger. We only eat food that is good for our brains. Would you care for a blueberry, miss? Asked Tim, offering her one from a clearly labelled Tupperware container. Or a pumpkin seed? Asked Tom, reaching in his briefcase for his Tupperware container. No! Thundered Spick. For once things weren't gonna plan. This burger wrapper was sitting right next to you. There is a fine to pay. £5. The twins looked at each other and gulped. £5, they asked in unison each. £10. Hark, the genius says, she scoffed. Now pay up, or else. But Miss Spick protested. Tom, we have been saving up all our pocket money since Christmas for a book that looks really fun called Advanced Quantum Mechanics, added Tim. Hand their money over now, snarled Spick. The twins looked close to tears as they pulled the matching wallets out of their smart black briefcases and began counting all the coins that they had saved up. Spick snatched the wallets out of their hands. I shall take those. Then the librarian sped off on a mobility scooter, cackling to herself and waving her spike in the air in triumph. Success! Ha ha ha! Brum! Poor Tim's eyes glowed with tears. Without a word, Tom offered his brother his handkerchief. When he had dabbed his face dry, Tim studied the back of Miss Spick's scooter as it trundled off across the playground. What's that? He asked. What's what? Replied his twin. That black box she has fitted on the back. Tom's eyes homed it on the box. There was an opening at the base of it, like a little cat flap. Every few meters or so it flipped open, dropping a piece of litter as it went. Rustle, a sweet wrapper, thunk, a fizzy drink, and plunk, a lolly stick, clont, a plastic bottle, thud, a crisps tube. It was a litter flap. I don't believe my eyes, Tom. You should believe them, Tim, because my eyes are seeing it too. Spick is spreading the rubbish herself. What a rotten rotter. We must inform the authorities. Spick is the authorities. Oh yes, we can't inform the authorities about the authorities. No, if you'll forgive me, Tom, I think I've a better idea, said Tim, his eyes lighting up with his own undeniable geniuses, and an expert's guide to rocket science has unwittingly provided the inspiration. All of a sudden it dawned on Tom and what Tim was on about. They were identical twins, after all. Are you thinking what I am thinking? He asked. Great minds think alike. They most certainly do, agreed Tom. The twins smiled and continued scanning the pages of the book. The pair were in no hurry to take their revenge. The tanks were methodical and wanted the plan to be perfect, or more accurately, perfectly dastardly. These boys didn't get 100% in every exam for nothing. They read every book they could read about rocket science, watched every documentary about space travel, and even visited space museums at weekends until the day they were finally ready. That morning, the Tankton spotted the Trike of Terror parked up outside the ladies' toilet block in the playground. The library was famous for long morning poos that would often go on until way into the afternoon. They knew they'd have time to add this latest modification to a mobility scooter. The tanks had meticulously constructed 2 booster rockets. These they smuggled into school in the Kello cases. Speedily they attached the rockets to Miss Spick's mobility scooter. Clink, clank, clunk. The twins had just finished tightening up the last bolt when Spick staggered out of the toilet. They hid behind the bicycle shed. Not being in lessons was sure to arouse Miss Spick's suspicions. The scooter had so many Blazer modifications over the years that the librarian didn't notice the new cylinder on each side. She swung her leg over the scooters and sat at the controls. Just then the bell rang for the beginning of break time. Ding! In anticipation, she spun the speedo on the Trike of Terror from slow to medium to fast to too fast to pants-wettingly fast before resting her hand on the brake. Meanwhile, the Tankton stepped out of their hiding place and tried to act naturally. Good morning, Miss Spick, they asked in unison. Oh, it's you two idiots, scoffed Spick. You owe me money. We gave you everything we had, replied Tom. Actually, she snatched it off us, said Tim. I stand corrected. Miss Spick's black eyes narrowed. The fine for littering was £10, and in your wallets you only had £9.99. As soon as you receive our pocket money, we'll be sure to give you that penny reason, Tom. We can always deposit the coin through that little flap there, said Tom, pointing to the back of the scooter. I don't know what you mean, protested the librarian. Oh, I think you do, replied Tom. Drive safely now, or should we say, fly safely. What are you two ridiculous nerds on about, she demanded. All in good time, Miss Spick, said Tom. All in good time, echoed Tim. By this time, all the kids were pouring out of the classrooms into the playground. Lots and lots of horrible children to run over. This is going to be fun. "It most certainly is," replied the twins with a smile. Spick flicked a switch. Beethoven's Fifth boomed out of the speakers. Dee-dee-dee-dum. The librarian let go of the brake. To her surprise, the two booster rockets fired up. What the bang! But before she could say whatever rude word she was going to say next, fine smoke shot out of the rockets. Boosh! The trike of terror was blasted into the sky. Zoom! "No!" she cried. "Yes!" cheered the entire school as the dreaded librarian zoomed over their heads. Whiz! Spick rocketed up, up, up through the clouds, lighting the sky with red and gold. In seconds, she was passing through the earth's astonished sphere. Kabum! The rockets detached and parachuted back into the playground. Thunk, thunk. They left Miss Spick holding onto a mobility scooter. "Help!" she screamed, though she was so far away nobody could hear her. Now, you'll be pleased to learn that space is absolutely full of debris. Not just meteors, but scraps from old spacecraft, satellites, and space stations circle for the Earth. "Ow, ouch, ah!" cried Spick as all these bits and bobs bashed into her. Dunk, twang, boink. As for our heroes, the Tang twins, they were still safely on Earth staring up at the sky. "Excellent work, Tim Tang." "I was about to say the same thing, Tom Tang. I do believe she called us nerds. There's no higher compliment." They shook hands at a job well done. "Pumpkin seed offer, Tom?" "Don't mind if I do," replied Tim. They walked off together, munching on the brain food for chess club.